Hey y'all, I'm Sherry. I'm an alcoholic, and I have been taken through the Big Book Step Study process with the help of a couple of Big Book Step Study sponsors. The grace of God, very patient, loving, kind God. I have made amends. There are some more to make, and I live in steps 10, 11, and 12 to the best of my willingness daily. And this is a great honor to speak at any AA meeting, and even more so at a Big Book Step Study meeting. It is a Big Book Step Study that I found the solution, and it's not for lack of trying. Uh, in any case, what struck me as we were reading towards the end here was on page 45, where it says, um, most alcoholics have to be pretty badly mangled before they really commence to solve their problems. And the reason this steps out at me is because that's exactly what happened to me. And I'll give you a little bit about my history. For some of you know it, some don't. But it is the pure definition of what this chapter is all about. Um, I'm 52 now, but when I first started to come to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was 15. And I was drinking at 15 and very out of control at that early age, and started my venture into Alcoholics Anonymous at that time. Went back out at 20, around there. I was a victim of what they talked about in this reading, in that I was too young. I thought I had learned my lesson in rehabilitation and going to AA meetings, and that I knew enough now that I wouldn't get in the same trouble as I did before. Well, that's not what happened. I stayed out until I was 45. That's about 25 years. And in the end, I was a daily drinker, not so much a day, and even more than that, almost like an hourly drinker. I was obsessed with alcohol. I had to have it with me 24/7. My life involved drinking, doing what I had to get by, sleeping, waking up drinking, and so forth. Until I had to be stopped. And I was stopped at age 45 and put into a hospital to be evaluated before being sent off to another rehabilitation center. And while in that hospital stay, it was found that I had hepatic encephalopathy, alcoholic liver disorder with cirrhosis. And I was given a 1 in 3 chance to live. And I knew that I had drank a lot, but not that much. I didn't realize that it was to that degree. So how did I get to that point? It's not because I'm stupid. It's not because I didn't know. It's because I fell victim to the fact that I really didn't want to believe that I was an alcoholic. I paid a lot of lip service to it when I came back in this second time around. But I really didn't want to be this thing, because I kept thinking I didn't even want to stop drinking after that diagnosis, because I had this thought that if I could find that right amount of alcohol at the right time intervals throughout the day, I could always have this nice buzz going on. And this nice buzz is what kept me, what I thought was sane and able to get through a world that I know now I was very fearful of. I didn't know it at the time. So what I found is that I lived my life just full of illusion and delusion. And I like how they start the reading out with those two words um, on page 30. The persistence of the illusion, and the delusion that we are like other people. Well, yes, those are definitely valid things, but for me, I lived in illusion and delusion daily, and that the illusion was that in this certain circumstance, which I just described, which was if I could just find that the right quantity of alcohol at the right time intervals, I would always have that constant buzz that kept me okay. That was my illusion. The delusion was that I believed it. I really believed it until the end, and believed it even at the end. And so it was not by my choice to come back to Alcoholics Anonymous. I really did, like I said, I did not want to stop drinking, but some miracles occurred. And the first miracle being that I met somebody in Big Book Step Study um, down here in Georgia. I live in Georgia. There is no live Big Book Step Study here. And so there's only two meetings in Georgia that are both virtual that are Big Book Step Study. And so I actually met somebody from Massachusetts in a live AA meeting before the pandemic. And that person introduced me to Big Book Step Study. And he recognized right away that there was something going on with me that that there was something I couldn't see. I was still deluding myself. I was still living in illusion and deluding myself that I could get along um, on my own willpower. And that's what this chapter is all about. And I just love reading it. Every single time a meeting comes up with this chapter, I just love reading it because ultimately what it tells me, and I didn't know this at the time, but I do now, is that I didn't have the power to stop, even if I wanted to. And so that was hard to grasp. And even years into this, did I still have this kind of fuzzy understanding of that? It was only after doing writing out my fourth step and looking back at the things in my life that that kind of I used as excuses to drink, did I see how much in fantasy I lived, and truth and reality were just so far away, and yet I didn't think that that was the case either. I thought I lived in reality, and I thought that reality was so bad that I had to alter it in order to get through it. And again, just completely, I just didn't know. I didn't understand. In any case, this chapter starts out telling me that I live in illusion, and I completely believe it, the delusion. And that is that I have the ability to control my drinking, and I didn't. If I did, I would not be here today. If I did, I would not have had that horrific diagnosis that I did, where my brain was swollen and my liver was cirrhotic. And there was a possibility of transplant in the works. So, but like I said, the miracle happened. I found Big Book Step Study. And in Big Book Step Study, I found out that I use excuses to drink. And I love all the different ones that's in this chapter. The guy Jim is the milk guy. You know, he tells himself that he's just going to go to a place that serves alcohol. He's eaten there before, and that's what he's going to do. He really believed it, that he was going to eat a sandwich, and then something happened suddenly. And he didn't have the ability to stop and think about it and really think through it, because he really believed if he poured that whiskey in the milk, he would be okay. The same way that I believed I could find that perfect buzz to stay, buzz all the time and be okay. He really believed it. So he told himself stories. Then there's people who also tell them stories. Well, I've been away from a drink for a while. So if I've been away from a drink for a certain amount of time, if I go back, I'll be better. Well, no, that happened to me. I tried that myself, and that didn't work. In fact, it kept me out for another 25 years. Um, my age. No, I was a very young person coming into AA, but I couldn't see that if I kept on going, that there would be no hope because I didn't understand what AA was trying to talk to me about, at the age of 15. I was very much still interested in socializing and fellowship and whatnot. Um, and so no, that didn't help. I didn't get the program, and so I went back out. Um, Sex, the women, just because I'm a woman, doesn't mean that I can't be an alcoholic. Um, Self-knowledge. There was a period of time in that 25 years where I was clear or lucid enough to go to college. And I went to college and I earned a bachelor's degree in psychology, thinking that, hey, maybe I can help myself. And that didn't work either. I went to countless counseling sessions. Those didn't work. Nothing worked. I knew what I was doing wasn't right, and yet I kept doing it because I was convinced that I could do it myself. So what do we do? What do I do when I'm in this situation? Well, I found out about Big Book Step Study, and in Big Book Step Study, it says, let's see here. It talks about there's 12 steps in this program. And coming back into AA, I did not want to have anything to do with the steps that talked about God. So when I was looking at this the first time, I was like, okay, I'll just do all the steps without God. That was another way of fooling myself, another illusion I was creating that I could get through this process without God, without the spirituality part, right? So I tried that for a year and that didn't work. So when I came into Big Book Step Study, I didn't understand this statement, but I pretty much do now because no, I can't find it. um, because it is exactly oh, here we go. It's on page 34. It's exactly what was going on with me. It's in the middle of the page. For those who are unable to drink moderately, the question is, which was me, the question is how to stop altogether. We are assuming, of course, the reader desires to stop, which I didn't. And whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends on the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not. And that statement right there had me confused and befuddled for a long time, even though my sponsor kept trying to explain it to me. And finally it hit me. I can't choose to drink and I can't choose not to drink anymore. And that's exactly what was going on with me and why I was admitted to the hospital with that diagnosis is because drinking was my great obsession and it didn't help. And it talks about in step one. So step one has pretty much two components to it. There's the physical component and then there's the mental, the obsessive component, which is what we're talking about here. But when I'm drinking, when I have that alcohol in my body, there is something that happens to me physically that urges me on to drink, even when I don't intend to. This part of it, even though I may or may not have that chemical reaction going on in my body, I'm obsessed with alcohol. I'm obsessed with finding that way to have that perfect buzz all the time, all day long, so I'd be okay. So it's that physical part along with the mental part. And if it were as easy to just take away that physical part and just stop drinking and be okay, if that were the case, then I wouldn't be here either. But unfortunately it is the case that there's this mental part that I'm still obsessed with alcohol and not so much alcohol because actually the obsession for alcohol left me very early, but an obsession to control it, an obsession to control how I'm going to not drink anymore. And that would happen that first year before I found Big Book Step Study. That would happen with shopping, with flirting with men that were not my husband, It would happen with trying to find a job that I thought I was going to really make it big this time because I'm not drinking anymore. And all of those things are ways they're just as bad as the jaywalker who's, walking out in the street and gets hit by a bus or a fire truck. They're more examples of how I fool myself and delude myself that I have control over my life. But going back to the alcohol part of it, um, so it was clear when I came to Big Book Step Study that I could not quit my control over my life on a non-spiritual basis, and I had to give up. And that's what this step is about, is surrendering and giving up. And I had to say, okay, what does it mean to find a spiritual basis for an answer? And the answer to that was to work the steps. Work the steps as they are laid out in this book, which meant that I had to talk about God and I had to talk about spirituality. And thankfully, that spirituality was not centered in a religion. That spirituality is letting go of what's happening, what I think is happening around me, and whether or not I have to have anything to do with it. I can let my higher power take over and guide me throughout my life. And the most important part, of course, when I first came in here was guide me away from alcohol. Because if I had not found Big Book Step Study and I was continuing to walk along the path of flirting with other guys, of finding this perfect job and using, this shopping as a means to get by because I don't have my alcohol. If I were to continue on that path, I certainly would have gone back. I don't have any doubts about that at all because I didn't want to stop to begin with. And I didn't have any kind of spirituality in my life. I believed that it was all up to me. And and this chapter just talks about all the different ways that people kind of thought the same way. In any case, so I had to open myself up to learning about what spirituality is. And one of the best explanations I had as to why I needed this in my life is this. Imagine I'm at my wit's end and I can't take it anymore and I am ready to take a drink whether or not I will die because for many years on in after that time I stopped this time around, I could have done that. So what is it that's stopping me from having that drink? Well, I don't have the physical component to the disease happening because I hadn't had a drink for a while. But I do still have that obsessive mind. And I do still think somewhere in the back of my head that I might be able to do this on my own if I was given the opportunity. So what's going to come in between me and that drink if I decide that's where I want to go? And I don't have any spirituality in my life, any guiding force other than myself. So I have this drink and it's right next to my lips. What's going to come in between this drink and my lips to prevent me from taking another drink and then killing myself? Because that's what would happen to me. Nothing. Spirituality, living on a spiritual basis where I try and be honest. I try and help other people. I try and see the truth. And I ultimately have chosen a power greater than me that I am convinced will save me, will be in that moment, be in that space in between my lips and a drink. That's the only thing that's going to save me. And when it was put to me in those terms, I was just blown away. And I realized, okay, I think I see here, I can't do it. Even though I still kind of think I can, it's really quite clear intellectually here on these pages that I can't, and in my own life. And the more I did this work, and I won't go in any farther into that, but the more I did it, the more I saw how out of control I was when I was drinking. And even that year when I came back and I was not drinking, I was still out of control. And I got 2 minutes, and that's good because I'm going to stop. So, in any case, uh, what I have found, the hope that I have is these meetings are people like you listening to y'all's stories, listening to what happened to you. Um, one more thing of hope that came to me and really kind of like put the final stone in place for me was about 3 years, 3.5 years after I came in this second time around. My gastroenterologist released me, and he said that I was okay. And so all of these blood, markers that were just off the charts when I first came back this time, that got me that diagnosis of cirrhosis. All those markers were back to normal. I no longer have to take any medication, and as long as I don't have a drink, I'm okay. I was saved from a 1 in 3 chance of dying, not by me, but by a higher power. And that same higher power that saved me from that illness is what's going to save me from another drink if I keep coming back. And I intend to keep coming back. I love this process. And I thank y'all very much for letting me share my story. Hope you have a great night.